Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Hess, and today we're going to go over doing voice with ChatGPT and Power Automate. What good is AI without a workflow? And so attaching AI with Power Automate, I just think that's golden. So today, let's do that with voice, translate them to text. Let's get into this. Okay, so I went online and I just found a sample audio file for speech recognition. This seems like it came from Harvard.
The stale smell of old beer lingers.
It takes heat to bring out the odor.
Okay, so what I would like to do is I'm going to take this file, I'm going to put it into SharePoint, and then we're going to run it through a workflow and have it translate into text for us. All right, we're here in my SharePoint site. I have it called voice recognition. I put the document, the WAV file here in my document library. I also created a list, and let's make a column called multiple lines of text. We need to make sure it's multiple lines of text, and we'll call this translated text. Most likely in the title field, we'll put like a link to the file that'll link to the document library. We could probably put this all in the same document library and create different columns, but this is just how I'm going to do it today. I'm going to have a document library and a list and keep them separate. So we're in Power Automate. Let's create a new flow. I'm going to do an instant cloud flow, and it's going to be for selected file. That's the one that I like to use, is for selected file in SharePoint. So now we need to link it to our SharePoint site. And let's see if it shows up. Maybe not because it's brand new. So I don't have it in there yet. So I would just do enter custom value, paste it in there. And then the library name will be our document library. Okay, so now that we have our file in there, it's just giving us the properties of the file, I believe. We want the actual content, the actual voice. So now I'm going to do get file content. So get file content path is the one that I like to use. There's other ones like get file content, but I normally use this one right here, the get file content using path. So once again, we're going to use the same site. It looks like it's still not there. So it's my voice recognition. The file path, the first time we click on this, we're going to actually click on the exact file. So we're going to click on harvard.wav, but then I'm going to go back and delete it. And I'm going to say insert dynamic expression, file name, and then I'm going to put the slash back in there. So now it made it dynamic. So whichever file we click on, it's going to select the file that we need. Okay, so just like with images and we do ChatGPT, we need to convert the file to a base 64 content. So in order to do that, it's very repetitive what we're doing. We're going to compose, and we're just going to put in here base 64. So I'll click on FX, base 64, and we're going to put our file content in there. So we click on dynamic content, file content, click add. So now we've converted that to a base 64 format. So now that we have that, we can have ChatGPT ingest that. So in order to do this, I don't believe we can do a custom connector. And I'll get into it more later on, but I believe there's a limitation with Power Automate, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone knows how to do it with a custom connector for voice. But there's a special thing about voice that happens. So the URI, let's take a look at the ChatGPT documentation. All right, so I've loaded the ChatGPT documentation here, and today we're going to do speech to text, and you can see our curl here when it requests the post. You can see the URL that we're going to use, or this could be the URI, and we can see how we have a couple headers. We have the bear our API key, so you need to create an API key in ChatGPT API. Then we're going to do content type multipart form data. I believe that's the limitation for making a custom connector in Power Automate. Maybe I'm wrong, but I had issues trying to do the content type multipart form data. So let's go back to Power Automate. We copied the URL here. So the URL, I'm just going to paste that in. The method is going to be of type post. All right, and then the headers, let's go back to the documentation again. So we have authorization, and then this is where we do bearer, and then we put in our API key. So you need to generate your API key in ChatGPT API or whatever your API key is for whichever product you're using. If you're using Open Azure or however you're going to do it. So in order to do that in ChatGPT, we go to API keys. We create a new secret key. So this is for YouTube today voice, and we're going to create a new secret key. Now you'll be able to see my secret key here today, but you need to make sure you save this for yourself. I'm going to delete mine right after I create this video. So you take your secret key, save it somewhere. Put it in a notepad, put it in a vault key library, wherever you want to save your key, save it somewhere. If you delete it, you're going to have to update your Power Automate flow, and that gives you more work. No one wants more work. All right, so now we're going to paste in our key. Don't worry, you have my key, but I'm going to delete it right after the video. All right, so the next part was the header. Let's go back. So the header, the content type multi-part form data. I'm actually going to put this in my body of my call, my HTTP call. And I think this is where some of the limitations are. So there's not much more documentation on that. So this is great. This is great for our video. So we're going to go in here into the body. I'm going to paste in what I have. But you see, we're going to do content type multi-part form. And so the multi-part is going to use a header of form data, and you have to make sure this is exact. And I'm going to try and put this in the description of the video. If you can't see it in the description of the video, then I'll put it in a comment. But we can see we're going to use Whisper-1, and the headers again, Content-Disposition, form data /file names. Now right here is the file name. So this is the name of the file. I don't believe this is that important, but this is just what's pulling in the file name. Next, we have the body and the content type, and the type is an audio WAV file. Let's double check. We have a WAV file here. So maybe if you have MP3, you might have to do MP3 instead. And then the content here, this is just our output from our compose. So if we delete this, this right here is just the output from our compose that goes right in between those two double quotes. Okay, and then we're just going to save. And I will put this in the description of the video, or we'll pause it here for a while and make sure that you get this entire body that we have here. All right, so I'm going to save for right now. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to test it. That way I can get the JSON code out of my audio WAV file. Also, it's just good to know that it works. So it won't let me do an automatic test, but we have saved it. So let's go to the file here. If we come to the file in SharePoint, we click on the three dots after we've selected it. You can then go to automate, if I can find it right here, automate, and your new flow will appear right here. So once we rename it, it'll look a little bit better. But now let's run that flow. And we're going to run that flow, and we're going to see how it works when it is tested out. And this could, take a little bit of time depending on your license model. But for me, it happened super quick. So we have our flow. It ran through. You can see here, if we go into it, you can see the text. The stale smell of old beer lingers. It takes the heat to bring the odor out the door. Isn't that so neat? We already got the file. This is the entire JSON that we want to parse. So it's very simple. So I'm just going to copy this, the output here. We're going to do edit, and we're going to go right back into our connection here. We're going to do plus, and we're going to parse JSON. Parse JSON, use a sample payload. I'm going to paste that in. Done. So it's a very simple schema. The content is our body from our HTTP. So we have our body here. We have a very simple schema. Now let's take that and write that back to SharePoint. So now SharePoint, we're going to create a new item. we're going to create item, and it's going to be on our voice recognition SharePoint site. It's showing up now. And translated to text, we're going to show all. Now the title, I'm going to put in the URL, so item URL. I'm going to put that in the title. The translated text, I'm going to do the body text from the parse JSON. And then we're just going to hit save. So we saved our Power Automate. Let's give it a rename. So this is voice recognition. So actually, instead of item URL, let's put in the title. Let's just put in the title of the file. So I'm going to do file name and then the translated text. We'll hit save. We've renamed our Power Automate to voice recognition. So now when we come back to Flow, we go to our document library, we can refresh. We'll see that in the translated text, it is blank. Documents, we click on it, 3 dots. It should have renamed our flow to voice recognition, which it did. We'll then run our flow, and we'll check out our list. So we'll go to our list, we'll give it a few seconds. I'm gonna hit F5 to refresh, and there it is. So now we have our Harvard wave file. We can see the stale smell of old beer lingers, and it writes the actual sound file. So if we go back to the sound file, we hit play, we listen to it.
The stale smell of old beer lingers.
It takes heat to bring out the odor.
A cold dip restores health and zest.
So now that we have translated that document, then now imagine the things we can do after. We can translate it to other languages. We can summarize an entire speech. Maybe let's take one of my smaller YouTube videos. I'm going to convert it to an MP3, and then I'm going to summarize it. Okay, so I took one of my old videos right here, this Power Apps, add chart data to collection of gallery. And we have Reza down here. Hey, Reza. So we have my video here. I've converted this to MP3. Now, I just downloaded it and converted it to MP3. You can decide how you want to do that. But I converted it to MP3. And now I'm going to upload it to my SharePoint list. So let's do that. Okay, so I've uploaded my entire video. It's only 7 minutes long, but I uploaded my entire video as an MP3 file. I don't know if we need to convert it to .wav or MP3. We can double check that. Maybe on our HTTP, we can change this to MP3. And we'll hit save. Hopefully that will still work. And then let's just go ahead and run it. And then I have another idea after this. So let's go here, turn it on, and then automate voice recognition. Now this is a 7-minute long video. It's a lot of text. Let's run it. This one should take a little bit longer. I don't know how fast ChatGPT will be, but I'm assuming it'll be pretty fast. So we'll go in here. It is running. It's running the entire video. So we'll see how long it takes. This is a 7-minute video. So right now, it's actually not stuck on get file content path. That went very fast. It took 18 seconds. 18 seconds. So there it is. My entire Power Apps video in YouTube has just been converted to text. Now what do I want to do? Next, I want a new column. Multiple line of text. Summarize. Now we have my entire text here. Now I want to summarize it. So what am I going to do? Now this goes back to one of my old videos where I created a custom connector. So if you want to watch that, you can. I have some other videos out there. Now I'm going to say add action. I'm going to go to my one of my custom GPTs. And okay, I have my API key in there. Now for body messages, the content that I'm going to put in my custom connector. So if you want to see how we did this, maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we have a video on how we created a custom connector to GPT. Now I'm going to put my entire parse JSON body text in here. And I'm going to say, summarize the entire speech that follows. And then we put in our body text. Keep the summary short, at most 3 sentences. Okay? Oh, then we can say, then also translate to Spanish. So now we're going to have a summary in 3 sentences. Then after that, we should have a summary in 3 sentences. Also translate the summary to Spanish. So then we'll have it translated to Spanish also. Show all. Oh, here we go. Summarize. So now, oh, we need to parse JSON of this. So now we're going to parse JSON. Now we need to parse JSON our content from our GPT, and we need the schema. So I have that from a previous video. All right, so I have that from a previous video. Same thing. We're just repeating. I don't think I need to put this in the video. Maybe I do, but we're just letting it run, and then we're taking the output and we're generating a sample payload. Now the next trick is actually more important. It's not the parse JSON, it's the compose statement. So there's a compose statement that follows, and it's much more important. And we've gone through this before too, but if we take the compose statement, it's reading the parse JSON 1, so that's this step. It's going through the body and the choices, and it's taking the first message. ChatGPT thinks there can be more than one message, so it puts it in a for each loop. So to keep it out of that for each loop, we're just composing it and taking the first message content. And now that we did our compose, translate, summarize, I'm just renaming it. We're going to go to create item. In our summarize, we're going to put the output here and click save. And now we're going to run it again. On that entire 7-minute long video on Power Apps that I did before, let's run it again. Voice recognition. So we can check out our Power Automate. We can see that it is running. We have no errors as of yet. So there it is. This time it took 18 seconds. These actually took only 3 seconds to run through the custom connector, parse JSON, created the item. We go back to SharePoint. We can see we have the translated text. So now the speaker explains. So I wish we could, let's see if we can just pull up that more. I just want to show the translated part. So we can see the summary right here. The speaker explains how to populate charts in Power Apps by using a collection to store data from a gallery selection, etc., etc. The promising regular updates on Sunday. That's funny. I always do it on Monday. Now I do the work on Sunday, but then I promise to upload them on Monday. And then after that, we translate it to Spanish. Now that's even more powerful. Now imagine if you had this on an automated flow instead of a manual. Imagine, a voice or a sound, maybe for some reason someone didn't click translate text or, transcribe on a Teams video in Microsoft Teams, or you have a recorded text from another way, from a camera. You can literally just upload your WAV file here and then run through Power Automate. I'm just totally excited about this stuff. I love this stuff. To be able to take a voice or a video and then translate it to text, we could probably even find, the most popular words that are said and then, categorize it that way. But I just love the idea to upload a file, whether it's MP3 or WAV file, and then summarize it. And then after we summarize it, then we translate it to another language. So to me, it's exciting times. AI is very neat. The generative AI part of this is the summarize part. So as soon as we start summarizing it, that's when we get into generative AI. We could even change the tone of it. We could say, take the voice, change the tone, recreate the voice and speak it back. Like, I'm sure in the future, maybe there will be, you know, voice or text to video. So then now you have a spoken text, then you can translate it to sign language. Like, I'm sure that could happen. The power with ChatGPT and AI is the ability to convert from text to speech, speech to video, video to text, text to voice, you know, and then being able to work with the senses of the human body in order to convert it to data and then convert it between our senses is really powerful. I love this stuff. Thank you all for watching. My name is Andrew Hess. I'll see you next time.